Assalamu alaikum students. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to British Standard School online lesson. So today we are going to start from the previous chapter we just started, which is chapter 20, adverb clause, if clause. Alright, so let's begin. Alright, in the previous lesson we just started with the adverb clause definition and their kinds. And we started with adverb clause, conditional clause. Here it is. We have learned that if clause or conditional clause has four kinds, which are the zero conditional type 0, first condition, which is type 1, second conditional type 2, and the last one, third conditional type 3. So in the previous lesson, we started with the zero conditional and first conditional. So you have learned it already. In this video, we are going to learn that the rest two conditionals, which is second conditional and third conditional. So let's see what are they and how to form it. Okay, and it's going to be very easy for you if you can learn it by step. Okay, so follow the lesson. The second conditional if clause, it has two uses. Okay, so the first one is we can use it to talk about things in the future that are probably not going to be true. Maybe I am imagining some dream. For example, if I won the lottery, I would buy a big house. Here, I am imagining that I probably won't win the lottery or maybe win the lottery. So these two things is in my imagination. That means hypothetical. It's going to be unlikely or maybe likely, right? So she would travel all over the world if she were rich. So in this part, we are saying that the things in the future are probably not going to be true. That time we are going to use this condition. Second condition, if clause, has a second use, which is we can use it to talk about something in the present, which is impossible because it's not true. Is that clear? Have a look at this example. If I had his number, I would call him. Right now, I don't have his number now, right? So it's impossible for me to call him. So here we can see that when we are thinking about a situation in the present or future that is hypothetical, unlikely or impossible, that time we are going to use the second conditional if clause. Another example, if I were you, I wouldn't go out with that man. You cannot be that person, right? If I were you. So it is impossible, right, to think. So that time we are going to use this condition. All right, now let's look at the form of second conditional if clause. In if clause part, we are going to use if plus past simple. Okay, as we have learned tense, so you know what is past simple. And in main clause, we are going to use would plus infinite verb. Let's have an example here. If I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. As you can see that in if clause part, I have used won. Why? Because in past simple, we use verb to, which is past simple form of the verb win, right? Which is won. And in the main clause, we can see I would travel around the world. So we have added would here as our auxiliary or helping verb. And the main verb is in infinite form, which is travel. The second conditional if clause, here we can see that we are using if I were. Note that with the verb to be, we use if plus I, he, she, it, and then we add where. You might think that where we are using. You might think that why we are using where instead of was. Because the reason we use where instead of was is because the sentence in this is subjunctive mode. That means hypothetical. We are thinking of if I were rich, if I were millionaire, and something like that. So the example, if I were not in debt, I would quit my job. If I were taller, he would be accepted into the team. She would still be correcting my grammar if she were still alive. So here you can see that the things are not in real. That means in future, or maybe it's impossible to think now. That time, that is our subjunctive mood. So that's why we are going to use were instead of was. So we are done with second conditional if clause. So now we are going to start with the third conditional if clause, which is our last condition in this chapter. So we use this conditional to talk about something in the past that did not happen. All right? This is a way we imagine how things could have been different in the past. If something had happened different, something else would have happened. I know it's quite difficult to understand, so let's go for the example. Notice that both the condition and the result are impossible now, right? Because we are thinking about something in the past which could be something else. For example, if I had known about the party, I would have worn something nicer. So this both the condition and the results are impossible now to change, right? So here's the form of third conditional if clause. If in if clause part, we are going to use verb in past perfect form, and then in main clause, we are going to use would plus have and past participle of the verb. Here in this table, you can see there is the condition and the result given. Example, if this thing had happened, that thing would have happened. Right? Okay. So now let's move on to some other examples. As in all condition sentences, the order of the clause is not fixed. You can see we are using if clause at the beginning or maybe at the middle of the sentence. You may have to rearrange the pronoun and adjust the punctuation when you change the order of clauses, but the meaning is identical. That means the meaning is not going to be changed. It will remain the same. Look at the examples here. If it had rained, you would have gotten wet. Here you can see that if clause we are using at the beginning. Next example, you would have gotten wet if it had rained. As here you can see that if clause come after the main clause, that means at the middle of the sentence. So you can see the change here. When you are using if clause at the beginning, you have to put a comma in between main clause and the if clause. But if you start the sentence with the main clause but at the end with if clause, you do not have to put any comma over here. This is the rule of conditional clauses. So some more examples are given here. Please look at it by yourself. All right? And learn it. End with our lecture and end with our chapter of adverb clause if clause. I hope you have learned it. So make sure you practice it at home and make sure practice a lot of exercises from the book and from the worksheets which will be given on class. Take care everyone. Bye bye.